What's up, my YouTube brethren? Mob Squad. It's been a while. Hey, listen, we're going to discuss today a new broadhead coming to the market, and it is this one right here, the Havoc Cyclone. All right, so we just got done over the weekend at Michigan Tack. We had a great time doing that, and I had a couple of people stop me and really give me some love for Man Over Beast videos. So it really got me pumped again to try and get some stuff out there. And you know, what better way to start off with some more reviews? And like I mentioned already, we're gonna be discussing this broadhead. And there's about 5 things I really wanna hit in this video. And that's gonna be construction, general broadhead questions, flight, the wound channel, and then durability. And everything will tie together with this broadhead and all the broadheads you're going to look at going forward. So the first thing is with construction. Now, construction has everything to do with your broadhead. That comes into tolerance levels of the weight, tolerance levels of straightness, your spin testing, and everything else. Construction is the most important thing when it comes to broadheads and everything flowing after that. The guys from Havoc gave me one of these back in May. I said, hey, let me take some photos for you and I'll go shoot a bird with it in the morning. And luckily it worked out that way. I was able to get my first Jake from the ground in no blind, and this thing performed flawlessly. And the main reason why is the construction design. The biggest thing when it comes to the construction of this broadhead is it's a simplistic design. Its bigger brother, the Hoss, was a 150 grain, one piece of metal tool steel. It had nothing moving, no moving parts, and its main design and its main factor that separated it from other broadheads was a single bevel lead that transitioned into a double bevel. So this broadhead is very similar to its big brother, the Hoss. It has the single bevel lead, which has got bone splitting capabilities and it increases the odds with physics, transitioning into a double bevel, which gives it better penetration. But this also goes back to a single bevel bleeder. And the Hoss itself was 150 grain. This is 100, which is perfect for whitetail, perfect for most any big game, honestly, and you can always add more weight up front. Big difference with this compared to its big brother is you have a 1 inch by 1 inch cutting diameter. So your bleeders are 1 inch, your main is 1 inch at the widest point. So you're really putting a hole into the critters when you're shooting. And when we look close at this construction, it's not a true mechanical broadhead because this is the in-flight status. This is the impact status. This is the always in ready mode status. These wings that do swing are always back. And that's kind of going to bring us to our second bullet point we were trying to hit with this video, is general broadhead questions. Most people out there are going to ask, does this have good flight? Most people out there are going to ask, does this work for crossbows? Most people are going to ask if it's compatible with both crossbows and compounds and recurves. The answer to all this is yes, because it boils down to the construction. Where you can run into some issues when using some broadheads, mechanical broadheads specifically for compounds, is the spring difference or the retention on the mechanical portion of the broadhead. So if your tension isn't strong enough on these types of mechanical broadheads, it could deploy before you even reach the animal, thus causing inaccuracies. With a blade like this, that's always in an open fixed position, even though I think technically it is mechanical, but these blades are always open, in flight, and ready to go, it is going to be compatible with both compounds, recurves, and crossbows. So construction is a huge portion of things, and that's why I tend to lean towards fixed broadheads because of the simplistic factor that it can cover all spectrums. I've spin tested this already. I have shot some targets with this already. As mentioned, I have already shot an animal with this back in May, and I am not disappointed yet. As a disclaimer, you may still have some flight issues with this broadhead. And there's going to be 2 reasons why you could run into that issue. Number 1 being your bow's out of tune, meaning your arrow is coming out all sorts of wonky. In my opinion, that's the number 1 factor for flight and broadhead dictation of impact. But the number 2 thing that could cause you some issues with accuracy and long range shooting is the set screw on the main blade. There are some other broadheads out there with the same type of technology, and I've actually run into this issue, not with this broadhead itself, but different ones. The set screw is placed, but the main blade is slightly cockeyed. Somehow it was just managed to get assembled in an improper fashion Therefore, it was just not spin testing well, and it didn't fly very well. After I reset the set screw, got everything centered, it was good to go. So if you do end up getting these broadheads and having issues with flight, that's the two things you want to look for: the tune of your bow and making sure your set screw is placed in the proper position and everything is centered. Arrow spinner is really important for these types of things. Another thing about this broadhead that needs discussed in almost a lot of general broadhead questions that are asked is the sharpness out of the box. And granted, these are one of the things that don't concern me too much, because you always have the capability of trying to sharpen something on your own. But with that said, these do come pre-factory sharpened. I wouldn't say they're razor sharp. Maybe in some people's opinions they are razor sharp. Do I think they are easily ready to kill an animal? 100% yes. I already killed a turkey with it. Even if you do dull this up a little bit like I have myself, in the package, when receiving it, you will get replacement main blades and replacement bleeders. So it can be easy to switch out blades after use if you don't want to resharpen stuff, which I've only got one, so I need to resharpen it. All right, so second to last test, or at least discussion we're going to talk about here, is the wound channel of this broadhead. As mentioned before, its older brother had a similar design with smaller smaller bleeders. Still had a wonderful wound channel, but it left something to be desired when its total cutting diameter was less than this. So this is now a 2x2 inch cutting diameter, and we're gonna shoot this into some, what is this called? Ballistic gel. We got some fake blood on there, so hopefully that'll show the wound channel real well. All right, that went all the way through. Blades right here. The the color dye didn't work out as hopefully what I was expecting. One thing I am curious about is to see if these swing blades down here will actually retract as I pull it out. I don't need to. Oh, yep, they folded back already. I don't know if you can see that. As soon as that hit the gel, those swing blades folded right back for easier retrieval. Let's see if it follows the wound channel. Just following it out. Oh, there was a little rotation. Felt it right there. Okay. So there's a little rotation left, and then it kind of came back, which would make sense because that's going to want to rotate it to the right. The rotation to the left was because the natural spin of my arrow is left, and then when it hit that gel, it's penetrated, let's say 4 inches, and then started to rotate back to the right. So it did spin. I don't know how much the wind is picking up right now, but you're at 90 yards. The target behind me with the balloon, that's what we're going for. I shot 2 field points earlier just to kind of get an idea on windage, and I'm aiming almost 1.5 feet against the wind. So I'm aiming for the buttocks, and hopefully it will hit the balloon. Now this will be a really good test, obviously, for the accuracy of the broadhead, but how much windage it will catch. So if we completely miss the target, it is what it is. We'll go find it, reshoot it. But if we hit the target, then we'll try and place another field point next to it to see how close crosswind difference is. A lot of human error in this test, so it's not really quantifiable, but we're gonna do it anyway. Dang, I really don't know how I missed that. That was, the balloon was resting against the arrow. The arrow definitely was kicked from the wind pushing it, just like my field points were. But, you know, is what it is. We'll do it again. Do it again. That took 7 shots. It was 7 shots. I finally had just the briefest of moments where my my riser wasn't catching the wind, and I had to get the pin right on the back side of the rump. Right on the back side of the rump before, that's how much wind drift there is right now. But let's go. But there's been no variable otherwise than the wind. It's been consistent, that distance, that almost 2 foot of wind drift every time I shot. Every time I released, I was like, that's not the spot, that's not the spot. 2 foot of wind drift, 90 yards, hammer down, baby. We're gonna wait till either late tonight or in the morning tomorrow to try this test again.
Whew. Good morning. Holy wow. The sun is bright over there. We are set back up. We've got another little balloon on the vitals of the deer. We haven't shot anything yet, so these are gonna be cold shots, but it's just gonna be like a hunting situation. So I have faith in myself that I'll pull off a good shot. Then we'll shoot 2 field points after we shoot the broadhead. We got another camera down here to get some of that footage. I know it's gonna be asked. Somebody's gonna ask me, how does it sound in flight? Is it loud? That's gonna be all the question. So we're gonna compare the sound of the flight against 2 field points as well. And my assumption is you're not gonna be able to really tell the difference. Okay, well that makes me feel better. Shot number 2. I can still see the remains of the balloon, so hopefully we're grouping good. All right. That is much better on my part. Broadhead. First field point shot. That's a 3-finger width difference, maybe 2.5 inches. And then I was feeling it on the third one, but that's definitely all me. All right, so in conclusion of the accuracy test, I would say this performed as well as humanly possible. As far as the sound and flight of the broadhead, that's kind of for you to determine within the parameters of the camera and the decibels that it's reading. My assumption is, before I even get to editing this, that it's going to be very minimal. There's probably more noise from a 4-fletch arrow than there is from the broadhead itself, especially when you look at the size comparison difference. But yeah, there was nothing that stood out to me in the accuracy side of things that said, wow, this is not doing remotely close what I want it to do. And again, that boils down, in my opinion, to 2 things. If your bow is in tune, the arrow is coming straight out of the bow. And number 2, if your broadhead's squared up and good tuned and nice out of the box, good spin test, all that type of stuff. So the construction of the broadhead. The last thing we have to do, which I really hate to do it because it's the only one I have, is a durability test. And the durability test is going to kill this broadhead. It just will. The only broadhead that has survived this durability test, because really my durability test is just to destroy it, is its big brother, the Hoss. So I think it's now time to shoot it through a street sign. All right, as you all know, my durability test is the street sign. And here's a handful of the broadheads that we've sent into it so far. There's some that's made some pass-throughs or fallen out. I believe that's the Hoss right there, the big brother. But yeah, it's seen some work. Eventually this whole thing, I'd like to see this whole thing eventually just covered in holes from broadheads, and then I'll put it on my wall. Again, this is not really a test of anything other than destroying a broadhead. So don't get your panties in a knot and say, well, I'll never see a deer's shoulder as hard as that. We're not worried about that. We're just having fun, okay? Just having fun. So this is gonna be in high speed, 120 feet per second. It's not super slow-mo, but should look pretty good.
3, 2, 1. Okay, let's see. Let us see results here. We did not get full penetration.
which is not uncommon. We look like actually it's in, the ferrule is slightly pushed back, so slightly catching the ferrule. Yep, this side too, which again, this is a pure destruction broadhead. It's not really so much, will it hit a shoulder blade and split it? Yes, probably. Well, is this staying? That's in there. That ain't coming out. You might not be able to tell, but it didn't quite make it up to the bleeder blades. A slightly more tapered ferrule may have given it more penetration through the metal. Obviously, we've already shot it through a lot of things. It did great in the ballistic gel testing. Penetrated further actually than I thought it was going to, just right through the thing. We shot it into the target a handful of times for the accuracy testing, performed great there. And you know, this type of a test isn't really necessarily about sharpness or design. This is more, I mean, it is design. It's to make sure something's not going to just completely disintegrate upon impact. And there's a handful of broadheads down through here where the replacement blades have peeled back, ferrules are completely destroyed, which this one's bent up a little bit, but like mentioned before, maybe a slight more taper on the ferrule, and you wouldn't see any of that on there. The blade itself actually looks unscathed. Like, you could resharpen that blade. It may be bent, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But it's doing dang great. So final thoughts. Would I feel comfortable running this in deer season or elk or any other big game? Yeah, right now, as far as I'm concerned, I would run this, and I may be the one running this all fall. Do I wish I had a little more weight up front, like if this was a 125? Yes and no. What's nice about something like this that comes in at 100 grains is that you can typically add more weight to the front of your arrow, not with your broadhead. Meaning I could put in brass or a heavier outsert or whatever else to try and meet that FOC that I would like to see. But right now, the way it sits, 450 grain arrow with 100 grains up front on the broadhead, that's a fantastic combination for the majority of big game in North America. So negatives, there's not really much to be desired with this broadhead. Like it's hitting a lot of the check marks. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a true mechanical broadhead. It's not a true fixed broadhead. It's something in between, because those bleeders being able to move slightly and then being able to pivot backwards so it's not barbed and pulled out of targets or pull out of game easier. The only setback I could see with the broadhead is that if the set screw wasn't centered or the main blade wasn't centered, you'd have some tolerances with squareness to your arrow. Well, not necessarily squareness to the arrow, but the blade itself might not be in line with your arrow. And yeah, no complaints. I just wish I had a few more of them. But it's only June. Father's Day is in 2 days. We got to start packing to go camping with the kids tonight and have a good time. So I appreciate every single one of you. If you got any questions about the broadhead itself that I might be able to help you with, feel free to drop a comment below. Otherwise, go over and visit Havoc Hunting Products. They will be able to help you with more than what I am currently aware of and knowledgeable of. So thanks again. Hopefully we got another broadhead to review through the summer, a couple more hopefully. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Appreciate you. Thanks again.